Who was at the top of the mountain in 1960? Let's take a look back at the chart toppers and headline makers as a new decade got rolling. 1960 was a year of power struggles and some celebrated firsts. In 1960, Elvis returned from his military service. Much to the delight of his fans, ABC aired a Frank Sinatra special, with Elvis appearing as a guest. Previously, Sinatra had not been shy in sharing his disdain for rock and roll, but he welcomed Elvis, and the two sang duets, including Love Me Tender and Witchcraft. The TV special had 41.5% of the American public viewing that night. But just as the king of rock and roll resumed his status, we said goodbye to another king, Clark Gable, the king of Hollywood. He died from a heart attack at the age of 59. He was in more than 60 movies in his 37-year career. Perhaps none more iconic than that of Rhett Butler in Gone with the Wind. Music underwent a huge transformation in the 1960s, ushering in more soul and funk. Rhythm and blues, however, was still popular. Brenda Lee released 2 albums, including the hit single I'm Sorry. Other hits included Kathy's Clown by the Everly Brothers, Only the Lonely by Roy Orbison, and Georgia on My Mind by Ray Charles. The number 1 song for the year, ranked by Billboard, was The Theme from a Summer Place by Percy Faith. It held the number 1 slot on the Billboard Hot 100 for a record-breaking 9 consecutive weeks. Oh, and a guy named Chubby Checkers sang The Twist on The Dick Clark Show, launching a dance craze. The Twist hit number 1 on Billboard's Hot 100 and would stay on the charts for an impressive 39 weeks. And the world met Aretha Franklin, who recorded her first album in New York and released her first single in the fall. Top headlines for 1960 were pretty big. A new young president named John F. Kennedy won by a slim margin over the incumbent Vice President Richard Nixon after the first ever televised presidential debate that September. Kennedy was the youngest president ever to be sworn in at the age of 43, and he was also the first Catholic in office. Cold War tensions grew as the Soviet Union shot down the U.S. U-2 spy plane. Pilot Francis Gary Powers survived, but he was captured and imprisoned for espionage. Tensions at home grew too, even despite the new U.S. flag, including Hawaii, making its debut. The first kneel-in took place in Atlanta in 1960, which would be the first of many in the area in the coming years. This wasn't just to protest unjust laws. They simply wanted churches to have integrated worship. Likewise, there were sit-ins at department store lunch counters. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was arrested, along with 51 others, after refusing to leave their seats at a segregated lunch counter. At this time, there were separate water fountains, bathrooms, ticket booths, as well as other public spaces. In the box office, the Alfred Hitchcock horror film Psycho premiered in the summer. It starred Anthony Perkins and Janet Leigh and was based on the book by Robert Bloch of the same name. Today, it's considered the mother of the modern-day slasher films, praised for its creative work in cinematography. Another surprise smash hit was Spartacus, based on the 1951 novel by Howard Fast. This Stanley Kubrick film starred Kirk Douglas and Laurence Olivier. The film earned a slew of awards and was recently selected to be preserved in the U.S. National Film Registry for being both culturally and historically important. Speaking of historical importance, Harper Lee's classic American novel, To Kill a Mockingbird, was published in 1960. It was heralded as an immediate success and continues to teach important lessons in today's classrooms. In the sports world, men's hockey won their first gold in the Winter Olympics, hosted in Squaw Valley. It was an epic win for the U.S. They scored a whopping 6 goals in the third period to beat out Czechoslovakia 9-4 for the gold medal. Cassius Clay, better known as Muhammad Ali, won his first professional fight after winning a gold medal in the Olympics, which were held in Rome. These were the first Olympic Games to be fully covered on television. Golfer Arnold Palmer won back-to-back majors, the Masters followed by the U.S. Open. Palmer would win 7 majors in his career. Baseball great Ted Williams of the Boston Red Sox hit his 500th home run. He'd add 21 more before he retired in September. The Pittsburgh Pirates would go on to beat the New York Yankees 4-3 in the 1960 World Series. Bubble wrap popped its way into the market in 1960. Its accidental invention a few years earlier resulted in the formation of the Sealed Air Corporation. IBM would be the first client to use bubble wrap as packaging. Advancements in technology included the invention of the laser and the heart pacemaker. It's also interesting to note that technology was more accessible to average Americans too. The number of TV sets in the US was 85 million, which is nearly 1 set per every 2 Americans. And all those TVs could watch the premieres of several new shows in 1960. We met for the first time the Flintstones, Popeye the Sailor, and the Andy Griffith Show. And those are the views from the top of the mountain in 1960. Thanks for watching Memory Mountain. If you enjoyed this video, please click to subscribe to our channel and hit the thumbs up button. Be sure to tap the notification bell so you'll be one of the first to know when we post our next story looking back over the landscape of Americana.